Call to order the May 12th, 2025 meeting of the Lowell Historic Board. We'll postpone the first item on our agenda, election of officers, due to the lack of a quorum, and we'll move on to public hearings. We have one public hearing this evening as item AND-25-02, application for a historic permit for construction of two multi-unit residential buildings on an existing vacant lot pursuant to the Lowell Historic District Act. Would the applicant like to step forward and introduce yourself and present the application?
Sure. Thank you for having me. David Daly, 40 Lillian Street in Lowell, Mass. Come before you tonight. We are building this 10-unit subdivision or townhouse project in the acre revitalization area. Is that what it's called, Steve? Neighborhood district. The truth is, for full disclosure, I wasn't aware that it needed a historic permit when I bought the project. Somehow the original developers get that by us and a couple other people. But we've worked with Steve and the board for 25 years and done a number of projects, and so not a problem. What I always feel is that 100% truth is doing this type of going through this process of reviewing the exterior and making sure everything's in line. It actually makes for a much better project. It really does, and it makes for it gives us a lot more thought into the project. And we, as a design team, we always work pretty hard at doing that. But it makes us look more definitively at it, and also with some of the historic components, making sure that it either matches the neighborhood or is in line with the abutters. So we're excited about this project. Like I said, it's a 10-unit project. There's 10 three-bedroom units. It consists of a 6-unit in the back area, and then there's 4 units in the front. This project sits on it's never been developed. This whole entire lot, if you've been by or not, we had a blast the whole entire thing. There was 15 to 20 feet of ledge on this project. So good or bad, the good news on that is that there was some slight contamination in this area because of geographically where it is, but there was no contamination here because it, had never been developed, sat up really high, and it's on ledge. So we've gone ahead already. We're at the point where we've put in a foundation for the 4-unit. We're starting on that 6-unit. We just recently had to put in a huge wall by Hub Foundations, a company that we had to hire to do this customized wall. We had to drill pilings about 100 feet into the ground all along that back wall because it's a 25-foot drop just to secure that whole, that's a whole structural wall across the back there. So that was a lot of work. That's complete now. We're doing utilities. As far as the actual buildings, we're excited about it. Steve and I have worked together. We've used this product at LP. It's a engineered wood fibers product that we've used in the past. It's really good. It's not only architecturally sound and aesthetically good looking, but it lasts a long time. It doesn't have that look of vinyl. The windows, we're also doing simulated divided lights on those windows, so you can see like a real grid instead of the in-grid pattern. We added a little bit of detail with some build-outs on the front of these to give more balance to the project. On the bottom, it doesn't really do it any justice. That's all a cultured stone. That's going to be all a cultured stone on the bottom of the foundations. This is what it's going to look like. These are the actual. We had a artist do a rendering using the LP, some of the LP colors. And again, looking at some of the colors we've used historically in the past. These are some of the ones that we came up with. So this is a better image of what the project is going to look like. We also tied in the landscaping. We had provided Steve with the landscaping plan. So it's all black windows using SDLs, a simulated divided light window, which is an historic looking window. And then showing the landscape, and that has been proposed and approved by the planning board. And some of the colors we're looking to potentially use at the site, just to kind of change it up. There's gray everywhere, and there's white everywhere, and there's blue everywhere. But this is like it's more of a tannish tan, and then some cypress green, and tied in with the board and batten up top, and the pigeon returns. Trying to just make it look more aesthetically pleasing, and I think this project is really going to stand out So we're really excited about it. We're open to questions and any feedback that the board may have, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. There's no one in the audience, but I'll ask anyways. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this application? Second call, third call. Anyone here to speak in opposition to this proposal? Second call, third call. All right, that closes the public hearing. I'll open it up to board comments and questions. Deb.
I drove by, I think it was Friday of last week, and if it's gonna look like that, that's a win.
Yeah.
I had a ton of questions. Thank God my husband was with me because he was able to, point things out. The first thing I said is, where is everybody parking?
Yeah.
And so now that we see, is that driveway long enough for a second car?
No.
No.
Nope.
Okay.
Sorry, no, yes, so there'll be parking in the driveway and then inside the garage, sorry,
Right.
yes.
Okay.
And then on the 4 units out front, there'll be parking in the garage and then in front of the units.
Okay.
This is a classic infill project, and you see this in a lot of urban environments. This is we did not permit the plan, but it's gonna fit nicely, it's gonna look.
gonna look
One of the problems I
fantastic.
told Steve, it's gonna look it's gonna look so nice. It's gonna look really nice.
It's gonna look like it doesn't belong there.
It doesn't,
I
correct.
gotta be
I'm with
honest
you.
on that comment. But, that was, and I'm glad to see, that the majority are in the back and you only have 4 in the front.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
but it was just tight. Everybody's gonna know everybody's business.
Yeah,
Um,
it's,
I love that. There's gonna be 10 new townhouses for people to perhaps, buy.
well, too, I know, don't laugh when I use the word affordable, but everyone knows what the price of real estate is now, but these are gonna be pretty affordable. We have not started marketing. I want to get through this whole process, and
Yeah.
And so I want to make sure that we had all our ducks in a row. But I think these are going to be in the affordability range of a 3-bedroom unit in Lowell for a good starter home, or empty nester or something like that. If you ever want to come over from Pawtuckaville, one of these.
No, I don't think so.
I think it's going to be a great project, and I think it's going to look really nice. And like I told Steve, as much as painful it is, and listen, and not to get into economics of it, going through with an STL type of window and LP siding, it's a lot more money than just going with a vinyl and a standard vinyl window, vinyl product. But I'll tell you what, it looks 10 times better going this route. And we love building quality stuff, and so, again, I say it all, we're using the same type of materials that we do in Newburyport as we're using at the site. So it's another project. I'm from Lowell. I'm proud to be from Lowell. I want to put the same type of work and quality of product into the city of Lowell like we do everywhere else.
Right.
So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Anyone else?
So I'll just say that, the city has done a lot of work in the last many years to try to introduce more housing into this area. It's sort of a weird spot, kind of. It's sort of like on the very edge of the acre, not quite downtown, but so we've DPD has worked a lot over the last several years with the acre urban renewal designation that's in this area to try to introduce more residential housing. I think we've had some success. I think there's more work to do, and I think a project like this helps that. For folks who are familiar with like the Rock Street area, you'll know that there's been, new housing that was introduced in that area that has really kind of like elevated the look of the streetscape. There's a lot more work to do, but I think a project like this helps with that. The city also has done some disposition of city-owned property in this area that was specifically intended for the creation of housing, right? So we have been kind of not just encouraging others to do the development, but taking the steps to ensure that when we are disposing of property in this area, that it's for that reason. And I think, a townhouse development is something that in a neighborhood like the Acre is really great to see. We don't have a ton of wide open space in the Acre, and so these infill projects are really critical in the ability for us to create housing opportunities in a neighborhood like the Acre that is so dense, where traditional single family development wouldn't allow for the number of units to be created here. So I think it's really consistent with efforts that the planning department has taken, and certainly consistent with efforts of this administration this city manager's administration to encourage the creation of more housing opportunities for people.
Anyone else? George?
I just have a question and a comment. I really, this is a nice project. It kind of fits within the whole context of that neighborhood when you kind of look around the streets. There's a whole mixed use, but this fits in nicely. One of the items I noticed in looking in the neighborhood is some properties are right up on the sidewalk, some have a little relief back. And I couldn't get that essence on how your property is going to be. Is it going to be right up against the sidewalk, a little green in the front?
There is some, we don't have a picture, unfortunately. There is, on the land, that's a landscaping plan, right, Steve? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there is some, if you highlight that, it's that similar look. You just don't, we only did the rendering on the 6-unit building, but there is, if you look in the front of, you'll see right there. Yeah. That's all gonna be landscaped. So it is tight, but there is gonna be some greenery there, and it's gonna brighten up the front of that 4-unit as well. And as we just discussed, I mean, it is an infill project. It is going to be a for sale unit project, which is good. We want more homeowners in the city. And it's going to, I hope, be the catalyst. There's some things I know, I think CBA is looking at a project down on Willie Street, 22 units. I know our bus yard's in the middle of, my other company has a bus yard somewhere that's being looked at for potential housing. Again, we would love to be the catalyst in this neighborhood to create that type of growth. Because it is a weird part of the neighborhood. It's like, no offense to people down there, but I have a building down there. Our ambulance company runs out of too, so it's like Mad Max, So it's a mix of kind of garages and housing. It's crazy. So I think this is going to be a nice complement to the neighborhood. We're excited about it.
I agree.
Thank you.
I just want to comment as well. I mean, I love the project. I mean, just given the complexity of the site, the scale of the project, the material palette, and the sort of architectural language, from that rendering, it seems as if that project could have been there for 50 years. So it's really well executed.
Thank you.
And it's just very refreshing to see, really good design. I think, whoever lives here will be very, very proud of this project. So I applaud you for actually doing this project in that neighborhood.
And again, I think when we got we didn't permit the project, and we get usually pretty deeply involved with the architectural plans, and we weren't going to make some tweaks, but I give Steve a lot of credit to say, Dave, let's work together on this. And again, we work with a lot of towns, and Lowell has always been synonymous with let's work together on this. How are we going to make this work for everyone? And this is what happened, and this is how you get a good project like this. And we're going to be happy to showcase this when it's complete. So.
Could you pull up the Willie Street elevation, Steve? It's the one of the 4, that one. The top one, yeah.
It's on a delay.
There it is.
Okay, yeah.
Again, this picture doesn't do it any justice. The rendering is using the real color.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
And it doesn't look really aesthetically pleasing there.
Can you speak to the Cultured Stone Foundation treatment you mentioned?
Yeah, he used the actual stuff we're gonna use. It's a gray, cultured stone, gray, it's like a dark gray and a gray mix with some white, slight, like, whites in it, to kind of bring all the colors together. It's a project, stone we've used in the past. It's a I want to say the name, it escapes me right now. But it is a cultured stone, and it's, I think it fits the style that we're looking to do.
So is it like a veneer that's applied to the face of the
Yes,
poured
it's
concrete?
a stone veneer. It's not that, a lot of these, they sell like, and again, I can see them from a mile away, most architects can, the fake vinyl stone look. This is going to be a real cultured stone as well. So it's not the fake vinyl that's supposed to look
Right.
like, and you can screw it onto the, this is going to be, it's going to be a veneer. Yeah, melted, yeah. So this is a real veneer put on by a mason. So.
Okay. Yeah, I think that will help break up the kind of that is kind of a big blank wall to the right of those entrances. So I think
Yes.
with the plantings and that might help that a little bit.
See from there's some significant grade elevation change.
Yeah.
It's pretty, and you see the foundation in, now you can really see how substantial
Yeah.
they are.
I think if you can get taller plantings there to help cover some of that.
Yep, yep.
That might help. And above the entrances, there's a kind of a blank area. Mm-hmm. Is that, what's behind there? Is there a bathroom or a stair or? I'm just wondering whether we could, a window could be added there to kind of.
Right above.
Yeah. It just seems a little bit of an awkward spacing with
Yeah, there's a
with
little
that.
bit of weird, need to look at the plans here. I didn't give you the floor plans, did I, Steve? No. I get them now.
I mean, it's a detail that, I'm happy to have you explore with Steve, but it's something that
There's
would.
a reason why there's nothing there, but let me pull that up.
I mentioned it because this is kind of the primary public facade for this whole development, so, and it's one that you'll see as you come around the corner from Dutton. So I'm kind of focusing in on this particular elevation.
Let me see the full unit. It's in the living room area, it appears. Double? Oh, no, it's the garage. So it's coming in from the back, in the back there, is the garage.
Oh,
So when you
that's
come-
at
at
the
that level, you're
grade
coming in.
and from the back. Interesting. Okay, yeah, I see
So
it
you're in
now.
the garage,
Okay.
you're in the stairwells right there. So that's
Okay.
why there's nothing. I remember, it was a long time ago now, I remember, saw it look a little like a blank wall there as well, so.
Okay.
Compared to what it looked like when we first saw it.
Yeah, it wasn't, I gotta tell you, it wasn't.
Yeah.
There wasn't much, planning or design really put into the aesthetics of this.
No, I appreciate the effort to try to break up the massing of
Yes.
of these two rows to have some variation and distinction between, so that.
No, we give a lot of credit to Steve working with us on that. He came up with some of these ideas too.
Great, thank you. Anything else from the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve as discussed. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? No. Congratulations.
Thank you very
Welcome
much.
Project.
Appreciate all your help here. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, that's our only public hearing item. We'll circle back to election of officers. And I guess we'll start with nominations for chair.
Two separate votes.
So I nominate George for chair.
Any seconds? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations, Stuart.
Thank you.
Election of vice chair.
Nominate Jeffrey for vice chair.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Congratulations.
No, it's not me.
So do we have George take over, or how do we want to do
I'll
this?
let you finish out the job.
Any preferences? All right. See, I think we're all interested in hearing about how Doors Open Lowell went this weekend.
Yeah, it's partly why we don't have
We're doing
minutes
good
for the
things
last
already, but-
meeting. We'll have minutes next month for 2 meetings.
Yep, understood.
Let me see, everything as usual in here is informational, but for Doors Open Lowell, despite the rain, it did go very well. The worst of it actually was probably 6:30 to 7:15 in the morning. I got downpoured on putting banners out. But other than that, you'd have off and on rain. It would be steady. It would stop. But by 1 o'clock, it pretty much cleared out. I was actually more worried about the Busker Festival down on Middle and Palmer Streets. They started off a little slow, I guess, according to the case office, but a lot of their people early on were Doors Open blue stickered visitors, so it was kind of nice that we were helping give them a boost early on. We still had good attendance in the morning, though. St. Anne's was 10 to 1. It had 120 people. A couple of Middlesex's buildings on Middle Street, Middlesex Community College had 104, 115 people each at those sites. So it still pulled in some pretty good numbers in the morning. George held down the fort in the afternoon at Tremont Yard, and I mistyped today. It wasn't 299, it was 199. But still, 199 from 1 to 4 was pretty good, I thought, for down there.
Yeah.
A little further out, I haven't gotten Transfiguration's numbers yet. Spalding House was a little off. But overall, though, I thought the numbers were comparable to years past. And I think more people would have hit the 201 Canal roof deck if it had been nicer out. You know, it was still a nice view, but then the wind was great over there. They had 3 or 4 people on staff, and they were fantastic. Looking at probably doing, I've already been talking, preliminarily with Case, and the gist is we'll do the Busker Festival again the same day, and so we're looking at, and this all is because of. We don't want to do Memorial Day weekend. We don't want to do UMass Lowell commencement weekend. So we're looking at May 9th again next year. So it'll be May 9th, and Busker will be around the same time. Maybe shift some buildings so we have a few more open downtown when the Busker is going on, that kind of thing. But that's what we're looking at. I'm also, for next May already, and the other thing I'm hoping is that, Giovanni, what's the timeline on the park on Jackson Street? I know I see the remediation watermarks out there now, but I'm curious.
Yeah, so we're under obligation to have everything done by 12/31 of 25. What year are we in? 25? So we're under construction essentially throughout this whole season, trying to get it as far as humanly possible. So there is a chance it could be open by next year. I think we gave ourselves like the following spring as like a little flex in case we had some finish up.
I asked that only because I think it would be kind of nice in that neck of the woods to do a Doors Open extra, like meet the landscape architect. And what we like doing those, like people are always curious in the design process and how things get built. It doesn't have to be open. We can plunk Jessica and the landscape architect there for a couple of hours and just meet the architect. I think people would be interested in seeing some landscape design.
Cool, and I think that the group has done quite a lot in their design planning to try to sort of make it make sense where it is on Jackson Street. So it's, you know where that remnant wall is on Jackson Street across from the garage? We own the parcel that does not include the remnant wall. So right next to it, we're essentially going to have a long rectangular park that's going to go from Jackson Street and lengthwise, and then it'll go to Middlesex Street. So it'll have entrances on both ends.
Yeah, it'll be a nice addition to the neighborhood down there.
People complain about green space down here, so I think that's awesome.
So that's one extra thing I was already thinking of for next year. Another one is I've already talked with Pat Cook at Middlesex on a real basic level for this, but for next May, doing each Thursday night at the Owl Theater at their Rialto building, doing like a preservation-themed movie, whether it's the Hey Arnold movie or Batteries Not Included, or there's an episode of Murder, She Wrote that deals with the preservation of a building. I mean, just quirky stuff like that. You know, there's even an episode of The Jetsons that's pretty funny related to this. So just, you know, what we're thinking of doing, you know, it wouldn't be Doors Open Lowell-ish, it would be a whole separate thing, but it would be each Thursday doing a short one and a longer one that would be kind of a preservation or design focused movie in popular culture that you don't necessarily think about as being preservation or architectural related, like the Hey Arnold movie.
Show Atlantic City.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, I think it went really well. I mean, George, did you have anything you wanted to note at all, or anything you observed?
I
George,
was impressed with,
Mike.
Mike,
Mike,
sorry.
it's okay.
Sorry. I was impressed with the flow of traffic. So we had about 200 people. It was about 100 fewer than we had the year prior, but I think that was weather related. But what was impressive was it was a constant flow for the 3 hours that we were open, and the demographics were all over the place. They ranged from families with young kids in carriages to groups of 20-somethings just out and about touring, families, elderly individuals, et cetera. So great cross-section of the population came to view this and had lots of questions. We're very interested in the building and in the story of how that place worked.
That's great.
Yeah, so I think it went really well, and yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I know you've got a template that you've been using for years that works, but I know it still is a ton of work every year to pull this off. So just want to acknowledge your work and efforts to make this all come together.
I have a quick question, though. Was it part of the plan to have the busker event and Doors Open Lowell at the same time?
I think it was like an accidental coincidence. You know, I think
Love
that,
the coincidence.
you know, I think, you know, that they're trying to do this May and the city events every weekend.
Yeah.
So there would have been something down here regardless, whether it was the Busker Festival or not. But I'm connected in tune with Case on a lot of different things.
Right.
So, I mean, it wasn't merely an accident. It was by design.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So I mean, it's no different than years ago when you had your tourist in your town event.
Right.
And it would piggyback with Doors Open Lowell. And actually, that Tourist in Your Town event the CVB did early on actually really sort of legitimized Doors Open Lowell in a way and began to institutionalize it as well. You know, the other thing was the exhibit down in the the lobby here, that we mounted in conjunction with the National Park in Case. So if you haven't seen it yet, you can take a look at that. We had the reception last Tuesday evening. It was well attended, and that was done basically off of the Facebook posts we do every week on Transformation Tuesday. Working with the park in Case, I gave them 7 or 10 buildings. Which ones do you want to highlight? We picked the 7, and Sophia and the Case office actually designed it with Canva and did a great job with them. And I even had her do an extra one separate from the exhibit, and we mounted it in the lobby entrance of Koto, the old Unitarian church. So we have our first lobby exhibit panel now in Koto as you go in there. So that's going to be something I want to grow. Maybe not the same design, but at least build upon the green markers with, you know, a little more interpretive stuff in the lobbies of some of the buildings. Because you can only do so much in 90 words on a 9x9 square of metal. So, I mean, that's about all I have. The Malovich Bridge dedication happened last week as well. There was a lot going on last week on Monday. Giovanni was there. What were your observations on that? Did you have any, or?
It's like a DPD reunion. No, I think it was a really nice event. I think it was his family, I think, seemed really happy with the event itself. There was a really great turnout, which I think did speak to, the number of people who knew him throughout his time here in the city. And, when that initial motion had come out, it seemed like such an obvious opportunity to name, it's not very often that we get something like as nice as a bridge just kind of sitting there that nobody has claimed yet. And so when the opportunity came up, I think it was a really nice, I think it was really nice for his family, but I also think it was just really nice for the legacy that the Riverwalk and that era of planners that I was thinking about it after, and it takes a particular kind of planner to look at something as wildly unsexy as sewer interceptor infrastructure and see it for the value that it could have to the community. And so it was just neat. I think it was a lovely event. It was really well attended, I think, and I think a good fit for somebody who worked hard on actually making the Riverwalk the thing that it is today.
Yeah, I think you had 5 or 6 at least former directors there. You had the former chief planner, you had former economic development director, you had a lot of other people that were in the community that worked or knew Bob. So it was just really nice to see everyone too on top of it all. And we had to move it inside to the auditorium, Hall of Flags lobby, because the weather was kind of iffy throughout the day, but I think it made it a better event. So anyway, that's all I have.
Thanks, Steve. Anything else from the board before we adjourn? No. Then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll see you next month. Deb.